Hello, farmers, and welcome to the harvest season. My name is Al,
My name is Bev.
And I'm Micah.
and we're here today to talk about farming games.
Woo!
Woo!
Yay.
And I think we're literally talking about all of the farming games today. There's a lot to talk about.
Yes, all of them.
So today we'll be talking about this year in farming games. So we'll talk about what came out this year, what was covered on the podcast, and then the three of us, what our favorite three farming games have been this year. Before that, we'll talk about what we've been playing and the news. But of course, beforehand, I should make sure that I introduce you two because some people will have listened to the podcast before and some won't. So, welcome, Bev and Micah. How you doing? Welcome to my year review. Only in farming games. We're not reviewing anything else in the year, please.
I am doing swell. I guess. I don't know.
Good.
Fine.
I'm doing pretty good too. It's been wacky, I guess maybe is the word, holiday season for me so far.
Yeah.
It's spinning time.
We just did a baked goods and cooked food drop off, no contact to some family members out of town yesterday, which was kind of nice to see them 6 feet away from me outside and to give them food and say happy holidays because we won't be seeing them during the holidays.
Yeah.
So that was a little weird. But also nice. I feel like that's just kind of been this whole deal. It's weird but nice.
Yeah. It's funny the things that we consider as nice things now.
Yeah.
The new
Just
normal.
like getting out of my house and seeing some people at a distance.
Having a conversation with someone else that does not live with you.
Great. So thank you both for joining me. And we'll hopefully have a great episode. Obviously, we're all very sad that we couldn't get Rochelle. Her life is quite crazy just now. But I'm very
sure.
excited to talk to these two about the year in farming. First of all,
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
that's all right. I always enjoy having both of you. I enjoy having all my guests. That's why I think everybody has been on multiple times because you're all great.
Thank you.
Aw, shucks.
But before we get into the news, what have you been playing? Bev, we'll start with you because we're going alphabetically for everything.
Well, technically, you would go first then, but sure.
I can't ask myself the question. So
I mean, you can, but I understand why you won't. I've been playing Animal Crossing and Stardew as of late. So picking up the updates that came out recently for Animal Crossing and just getting back into Stardew. I feel like I need some familiarity with that game in my life right now.
understandable.
Can I ask? Do you have like a regular time that either of you play games?
No.
In a year? Like, is there like something? So like for me, I get really nostalgic for Stardew right around this time.
I tend
What
to
feels
play,
like every year.
I tend to play Stardew at the beginning of the year, but that's normally because the releases just come out.
Okay, so it's just my dumb brain that.
At least I
know.
haven't noticed a pattern, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I
it's
tend to
rare
play
things,
Pokemon
but
every
yeah,
November,
just like-
but
That kind of also makes sense, yeah.
Despite that, I have not been playing Stardew. Despite the urge to, the yearly urge, I've still been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. I put in, a little bit of time every day since release, still doing dailies, and I feel like it's maybe the only like structured normalcy day-to-day like to-do list thing that I do, so it's kind of keeps me sane a little bit. I just do my normal daily tasks and put in maybe like a half hour every day.
yeah, fair enough.
I also recently picked up Cyberpunk
For for what?
PS4.
Yep.
Okay. How's that going?
I got it used secondhand for much cheaper,
I can
and
imagine.
I actually was interested in it after I saw all of the bugs.
Oh no.
Typical.
And everybody was right. It's extremely buggy, which makes it maybe a little bit more entertaining.
Was your plan to buy it when nobody wanted it and then wait for the updates?
That wasn't the plan originally. It was just I don't really have as much of an interest in getting or playing it at this moment. But now with all of these quote unquote controversy, I guess, surrounding it, I was like, well, now I got to see it for myself.
Yeah.
And I found it for very cheap because everybody's, I guess, getting rid of them.
I thought about
So,
it. Maybe
yeah.
I should do this as well. Get it secondhand.
It's definitely what everybody is saying it is.
Okay.
At least on last gen consoles.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's out on the next gen consoles yet, is it? It's only PC.
I
and
think so. I
last gen.
think it upscales so you can play it and it handles it better.
Yes.
It-
Yeah, but
there's,
I think they
graphical
are
improvements
bringing
and
out
stuff, but
like actual releases on those use of
Sure.
like the ray tracing and stuff like.
right. So I don't know how much you knew about the situation, but they pulled it from the PlayStation
Yeah.
Network on
Yeah.
the PS4
Ooh.
completely. Yeah, and it's
Wow.
completely unavailable, I guess, until they update it. But
Oh.
It's been amazing because it's just been like watching it collapse more and more every day.
right,
So it was like, they initially Sony said they were going to give refunds, and then I think Cyberpunk themselves said they were going to give refunds, and then Sony pulled it from the store, and then Microsoft have started saying they'll give refunds, and so they're just waiting for the
Yeah.
point where it just ends up being deleted from everything and turning into ET or something.
it's really kind of a sad story. Generally, it's
know.
specifically for the I won't get into all of it, but the I feel very bad for the developers.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
know, like,
because I don't
just-
think that they were prepared for.
No, and I just imagine like spending 3 years of your life working on something for it to be rushed out by management and everybody to go, "This is dreadful," and you go, "Yes, it was." Like I just can't imagine having.
So it
That,
must be so
but
frustrating.
I'll
Yeah.
see your 3 years and raise you 8 years. I think
Well,
it took them.
It's been 8 years since it was announced, but I believe
Okay.
development didn't actually start till 2017.
Got it.
Boom! I corrected your
Yeah.
correction.
You did. I've been
Yeah.
had.
I don't know why they decided to announce a game before they started development on it, and then didn't start development on it for 5 years.
And it's I was reading all of the horror stories about how much crunch they put their developers through and stuff, and it's just like, man, I cannot imagine how like heartbreaking this is for the people who worked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's why, as this podcast so wonderfully does, covering Kickstarter games. Kickstarter games tend to cut out the governing bodies that say you have to crunch, and
I know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
so that's what I've been playing.
Good fun. Good fun. Well, I have been spending most of my time playing Spider-Man Miles Morales. So I think I mentioned in the last episode that I was picking up my PS5. I did manage to get that. Although really annoyingly, I went in.
Oh, nice.
I went in to pick it up, and they said I could get it from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because the way that they were doing it, this shop, was you got a reservation online, and then you had like a specific day you went and picked it up from a physical store.
Mm.
And so I went on the day they said I could pick it up from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the person who I talked to at 8:30 was like, "I don't think we have any in." And I
Oh,
was like, "Oh,
excuse
Uh-oh.
me.
okay."
Oh no.
So eventually, like 15 minutes later, someone else came and said, we don't have it in yet. It is coming on the delivery later today. Can you come back later?" So I went back at lunchtime and they had it, thankfully. And the person who I talked to actually knew what they were talking about. So,
Okay.
so I was incredibly stressed for like 4 hours thinking, it took me so long to find somewhere to actually buy it. But yeah, so I got it,
Yeah,
and I
it
got
is
Miles Morales, and it's great.
It
That's
is.
awesome. Yeah, it's still a very hot commodity.
Yeah.
Very, I mean, there's like horror stories of having to, people waiting like 8 hours in line outside of a store, which, why even at the current state of things? Why?
I know.
But,
I know. I don't think any
I
shops
tried a
here were
couple
doing that.
times online, and one was Walmart. It just was supposed to go live at like 9 o'clock or whatever, and right at 9 o'clock, I refreshed the page and it was out of stock already, which is just disgusting.
Yeah.
So I tried maybe like twice, and then I was like, I'm just gonna wait until after the holidays because this
Yeah.
is the worst time to try to do this.
Yeah, the only reason I tried really hard to get it was because I'd already bought the game. Because the game came out a week before the console came out here.
Uh-huh.
Because
Oh,
it's really stupid. So the PS5 came out in Europe a week after it came out in America. But
okay.
Insomniac released Spider-Man Miles Morales the same time everywhere. So it
Mm.
came
Oh, I
out
see.
a week before. So I ordered it on Amazon and it just popped up a week before. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. So I was like, well, I need to get the console then
Yeah, it's kind of
to
like
actually play
That's
it.
just
amazing.
sitting there and teasing you, staring at you.
I think I had it
That's
for
right.
like 2 weeks before I could actually.
Goodness. Well, that reminds me of when I bought Skyrim for Xbox 360, thinking that I could just wait until the next console came out and I could just play it on the new one, not knowing that the Xbox One would not be able to play it, at least at the time.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I totally forgot that there was like a period in time where they had 0 backwards compatibility.
I feel like they've learned from that
Yeah.
though, because like the Series X has like is backwards compatible with basically everything.
I think so, yeah. And they added, even with the Xbox One, I think they eventually patched in like backwards compatibility
Yeah.
with original Xbox discs too.
Yeah, I mean, really,
Which is, like,
Microsoft
pretty impressive.
completely botched their original announcement of the one, because that was the one that they were also going to make not digital only, but if you ever put a disc in it, you'd never be able to use it on another Xbox
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Oh, yeah.
They were like basically trying to kill the resale market for games.
Right.
And there was absolute uproar. And I think that one also, like, if you didn't connect it to the internet after 2 weeks, you wouldn't be able to use it. It's just like so many
Perfect.
things that they were just like, we need to do something, because they were absolutely going to be just destroyed by the PS4 on that one. You know, dreadful.
Wonderful. I when I first got my Xbox One, the like original big chunky one, I didn't know that you couldn't stand it upright
Oh no.
in order to play discs, which, because in my head I'm like, this has been a thing literally in forever in the history of game consoles,
Yeah.
aside from like, N64
The
or
originals.
whatever. I mean, you could, and it's not going to affect the gameplay, but
Yeah.
so I had to like get on a call with Microsoft support, and I was like, I don't understand why it's not playing the disc, and I'm having issues, and like this guy helped me troubleshoot for like a half hour, and then finally he was like, do you have the console standing up? And I said yes, and he said, well, you can't do that, so set it down.
Oh my word, that's dreadful.
It is.
Oh.
Great.
Like, that feels like the sort of thing that nobody testing the machine ever tried, and they only
Yeah.
realized after they released, and they were like, oh well, that's just a thing that doesn't happen. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Consoles.
Yeah, so I think it's just basically Spider-Man I've been playing. I haven't been playing Animal Crossing. Sorry to break the the rhythm there. Some go.
I
Some
feel like a
Pokemon Go.
lot of people that really played it a lot at the beginning of the year are generally not playing it anymore. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Yeah,
It's,
I had to take a break.
probably the case
I
for a lot
like
of
sunk
people.
in 300 hours and then took like 3 months or 4 months, and then came back for like the October update, and then fell off of it again until now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
I do feel like a lot of people came back for the December update.
It's real good.
I feel like
Yeah.
I saw a lot more people talking about.
You got to think that every update, there's like a week where the numbers spike of people actually using it, and then they go down again.
Mhm.
Sure, yeah. I'm curious to see how long they'll be keeping this up
Yeah.
as far as like updating goes, because I feel like there's still a lot of stuff that they could add
Yeah.
based on like New Leaf or but I don't know. This we've had it like almost a year of updates,
Yeah, but
like almost every month.
you've got to assume that development was slowed down by COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I think I suspect the plan was for more stuff to roll out in this year, because some of them have almost been just event, and I feel like there's a
Right.
lot more features they have underlying with, like, there's some code in there to allow them to do specific things, and that's not done. Like, let's take, for example, the farming thing, right? They've literally just done it for pumpkins. You've got to
Right.
assume they've got more stuff coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so. It's just so interesting to me because it's not, it's it's a standalone game, and these updates aren't making them like directly making them money. It's not like it's a paid DLC or anything, and there's no subscription service, and so it's really interesting in a time where that's like a really common thing that you pay for like a season pass or you pay for DLC and you get
Yeah.
the updates for the year, like the yearly season DLC or whatever it is, and there's no monetary gain from it other than that they're hoping that it will encourage more people to buy it that haven't already bought it.
I mean, let's not downplay that though,
Yeah.
right? Because the fact of the matter is, every couple of months they're back in the news cycle again.
Sure.
And so people keep, like, over the last 9 months, people every month or two are hearing about Animal Crossing and hearing about a new update. And so if people are on the fence, that could easily push them over.
Yeah. And I've definitely talked to
I guess it's
at least 2 people recently who said that they're still waiting to get it. So there's definitely still a market for it. I think just waiting for prices to come down a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually. Like, how many people, obviously there are people, but how many people, at this point that are maybe interested in it and will buy it in the future haven't bought it yet after like a year? But I don't know. I mean, I'm not complaining because I'm loving how much is being added to it, every like 3 months, and every month gets like something. But I wonder, it makes me wonder how long they plan on keeping this up before something becomes like a monetized DLC or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they never did, because I feel like most games announce these things up front. Like, they say, here's the game and here's the DLC. And they might then add on more, like Smash added on a second DLC pack.
Right.
But I think it's been a long time since a big game has released and had a DLC, but they didn't announce that at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how the future of New Horizons plays out.
Yeah. Well, that's what we've been playing, and believe it or not, that's probably the last time we'll talk about Animal Crossing in this episode. Definitely, yeah. No, I think we might talk about it later, but we're not going to talk about it in the next section, which is the news section. So there's a lot of news, listeners, so very sorry if this takes ages, but some of them are quite small ones, so we'll just get through them as we do. Probably shouldn't apologize just before I go into a section, right? Because that's going to turn people off. No apologies. This is going to be great. There's lots happening in the farming game world, so you should be all very happy. And I don't know why December is a really busy time for this for news and games.
I wonder.
Very odd.
Yeah.
So the first piece of news is that Alba, which is it's a wildlife simulation game. Technically not farming, but we've been following it for a wee bit. It's out now on iOS and PC.
I love the art style.
And
it reminds me of this like one idle game that I have on my phone that's called Sprouts, I think, and it's just like you just grow flowers, and it's kind of a similar art style to this. So I may be into it just because of that.
Yeah, I really love that. I love the like low poly stuff. It's very neat. It's just like, I don't know, cozy for some reason.
Yeah. But also kind of gives you reminders of the existential threat to humanity.
Yeah.
So, no, it looks like a great game, and I think it really good in terms of what it's what it's trying to get across. I'm excited to play it at some point. I will probably not play it until it's on Switch, which is the next piece of news about it, that they have confirmed that the Switch and other console update releases will be coming out in spring
Nice.
next year.
Oh,
Good.
neat.
So
Yeah, I feel like anytime I see anything is like launching on Apple Arcade, I just assume that it's going to come to the Switch at some point.
yeah, yeah,
Because that seems to be how things have gone.
yeah. I think most games that don't come to the Switch are like small indie games that are built on PC, and it's just they don't end up having the budget or the time to be able to put it on Switch.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But even then, most of them do tend to end up coming to the Switch. Like it seems to be, the platform for this type of game that everybody seems to ask for now, which is really good. I believe that when they got numbers from the Summer and Mara Kickstarter on who wanted what platform, I think Switch was something like 90% of backers wanted it on Switch, which is crazy.
It's a good.
Yeah.
Like, imagine saying that about any Nintendo console before.
True.
What do you mean? Everybody didn't want their games on the Wii U?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the Wii had a lot of games, but they were all specifically for the Wii.
True.
Yeah. Motion controls.
Speaking of Summer and Mara, we finally have an Xbox release for Summer and Mara. So if you backed it on Kickstarter, you have the game now. If you didn't back the game on Kickstarter and just want to buy it normally, it will be releasing on the 5th of January for Xbox One. So, and with that is their final platform that they had promised in the Kickstarter. It's all good.
I would guess that maybe that means that Xbox One was the least requested.
I suspect
Maybe,
you're probably
if they
right.
saved it for last.
I would hope so, I guess.
Yeah. But a little bit disappointing for those who did want it on Xbox, and hopefully their enthusiasm killed by the delay. But
Right.
yeah, it's a good game. If you were thinking of buying it and you only were going to get it on Xbox, go get it now.
Yes.
Well, on the 5th of January.
Yes.
2 weeks to go. Next, we have Forager is on Android now. So there we go. That sounds like a dangerous thing to me. When I played that initially, I was like, this is definitely going to be a mobile game, because it's the sort of game that you can easily pick up for 10 minutes and do a little bit of, and then be sucked in for 3 hours. And that's the sort of game that is dangerous for phone.
Yep.
Absolutely. I still have yet to play. We talked about it the last time I was on.
Yeah.
I still have yet to play it, but
Same.
I think it's getting closer and closer to needing to play it.
It's already out on iOS as well. So
Oh goodness. Okay.
there you go. I'm trying really hard not to buy it on Android, because I already own it on PC and Switch. But I really like the idea of it being on my phone.
It sounds like you need to just do it.
I know.
I mean, as someone who has 4 copies of Stardew, I am not going to deter you from this.
I think this would actually mean, if I did buy this one, I would actually end up with more copies of it than I do of Stardew. I think I only have 2 copies of Stardew. But it will still not be the most owned game I have. I still have more copies of World of Goo than anything. I think I have like 6 copies of World of Goo.
Oh man, I completely forgot about World of Goo.
I think realistically it's just because it was in like every Humble Bundle, and I only got it on like 3 different platforms, but I got it multiple times on everything. The next piece of information is that Lens Island the release of that has been delayed a little bit, so that will now be coming out in July next year. I think it was meant to come out in March. Yeah, not a huge amount to say to that. I'm excited for this game. Either of you looking forward to this game?
I have backed it, so
Have you looked at
yes.
it? You
I
have
have.
backed it. Nice.
I
Micah, have you seen
am
it?
very unfamiliar with it.
It's a really nice looking game. You're on an island and there's a lot of construction, I think, is kind of its main focus, of like you build a house and you build it up bigger and bigger. There is farming in it as well, but I think the focus is around building structure. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now and it looks very cool.
It does. Yeah, no, it's a good looking game. I also backed it on Kickstarter, so I'm excited for that. But I am not unhappy about the delay because let's be honest, March is looking very busy for game releases. We have both Pioneers of Olive Town and Harvest Moon One World.
Oh goodness.
March is always kind of stacked for game releases, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
kind
I
of
don't
was
know,
this year too.
I guess specifically for
right? It was this year as well, right?
Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
well, Animal Crossing.
And Summer and Mara came out then.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I guess for farming games, they always start in the spring, so maybe that's
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
I suspect it's also a like if a game isn't going to make it for Christmas, then they take an extra couple months, and then it just so happens to be March. You know.
Sure.
Yeah, people's wallets need to recover a little bit after the holidays.
Yeah, yeah. So we currently have.
This looks neat though.
I
Lens
like the
Island.
look of it a
It's
lot.
not, yeah, it looks very cool.
So currently coming out in March, we have Harvest Moon One World, Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town, Dayland Pocket Edition, Roots of Paka, and I suspect March won't count as spring, but the other Alba platforms release in spring, so that might be March, might be April, certainly around that sort of time. And then in May, we have Rune Factory 5, Sunhaven, and Village Monsters. So it's going to be a busy first half of the year. There's a lot of games coming.
Yep.
Everybody's been banking their releases for
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
from 2020 to unleash them all in 2021. So
The next small piece of news about Story of Seasons Pioneers of Olive Town is that we got a little bit more footage. There's nothing really kind of big in that. I guess the only thing would be that we've got confirmation that the cooking take in-game time rather than just happening immediately, which I think is a change for Story of Seasons. I don't think that's been in previous ones, but Micah can probably correct me.
I don't think so. No, it's usually when you cook something, it's usually like an instant thing.
Yeah. So, we've seen some things take 30 minutes, that sort of thing. So,
Interesting.
yeah. So presumably more
makes
complicated things will
sense.
take a couple hours or whatever.
It makes sense as far as realism goes, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Although it does seem a bit weird that you can do all of the preparation at the beginning and then just wait 30 minutes and it's ready.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah. And there's been more announcements about different countries having the deluxe version in different ways. So go have a look if your country didn't already have. I presume you are both looking forward to Story of Seasons Pioneers of Olive Town.
Yes, although I still have yet to play a Story of Seasons game. I know. I
What?
know.
None of them.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, it is.
Doraemon.
It is on my list of games to eventually play. I have it on the DS, but it's so hard to go back to that.
Yeah.
If you can find the Doraemon Story of Seasons for cheap or on sale, I don't even remember what the full price is, but that I think
Not
is
sure.
maybe one of my favorite
Ooh.
Story of Seasons
Okay.
games.
It is very good. I think that
And
was
very
I think that
beautiful.
was both me and Rochelle's favorite from last year. It was certainly my favorite, and it was one of Rochelle's.
Okay. I will definitely look for it then.
Very good game. So I can't see American pricing, but in the UK on Switch it is currently on sale
Ooh,
for $22.49 as opposed to the standard 50 quid.
wonderful. I will make a note of that now.
It
Yeah.
looks like in the US right now until the 31st, it's also on sale for $24.99 American.
That is a good deal.
It is.
So it is. It's a very pretty game. I love the art style a whole lot.
Being enabled.
It's very good.
Look, if you come to this podcast expecting us not to tell you to buy farming games, I don't know why you're expecting it. Let's be honest.
I know.
Yes, it is an excellent game, and it'll be hard to top it, I think.
Anything Story of Seasons, I'm very excited for. So I'm pretty excited for Pioneers of Olive Town.
Yeah, I think I'm
just-
excited for like a new standard one. So
Mm-hmm.
Doraemon was great, but it also felt very much like not a Story of Seasons game.
Like a spin-off,
Yeah,
collaborative spin-off. Yeah.
yeah. So like there are a lot of things in it that were different, and not necessarily bad, but just like this is kind of, it's fun in its own way, but also I
Mhm.
like a standard Story of
Right.
Seasons game. And Friends of Mineral Town was very enjoyable to play, but there have been so many quality of life improvements that we've had in these games that we did not get in that game.
Yes. I think maybe like for Doraemon at least, just accessibility was like
Yeah.
maybe the focal point. To just maybe make it easier for more people to get into it that
Yeah.
are unfamiliar. So
Definitely, and that's always good, always
Uh-huh.
good. And I really liked the way they used the gadgets in the Doraemon gadgets. But yeah, there's a lot of bits and pieces that I think I will prefer in the newer game. Like you have one coop and one barn, and you can't choose where, that sort of thing. I'm looking
Right.
forward to more flexibility around these things.
Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. We are excited to play Story of Seasons.
Anything Story of Seasons, always excited.
Speaking of Story of Seasons, the next update is about not Story of Seasons, but instead Harvest Moon. We have a new trailer for Harvest Moon One World. There's
The tone in your voice says that
So
you're really
excited.
excited.
I am very excited. There's character customization in this game.
Ooh.
You can
Oh.
have like pink streaks in your hair,
Oh.
I think.
Interesting.
Uh, Boy, this game looks interesting. Like, it's just some of these, like, I mean, I hated when people complained about the trees in Pokemon, right? And I'm gonna feel a little bit like that. But like, here, there's a screenshot I'm looking at here of this bear in what looks like a desert. But like, the texture on the desert is like someone made a wavy line. It's it's just so boring, you know?
Yeah. I like have hope that eventually Natsume can like pull this off and have a really good like two franchises that used to kind of be the same thing but are
Yeah.
now maybe like competitive counterparts to each other, and there's lots of innovation and stuff like that, but it's just such a one-sided fight currently.
Yeah. I want
That
it to be
I'm
good
always kind
so
of
bad.
hoping. Yeah, it's just and again, like you said, the Pokemon tree texture conversation. It just there's so much to it that like feels like higher end development, but then just like corner cutting that it gives me. Maybe it's just that I've been burned so many times by Natsume
Yeah.
at this point that it just gives me the impression that it's going to like those little things are going to be what the game mostly is, and not as much what the positive highlight reel is that we're shown.
Yeah.
So I'm
There's a
patiently optimistic, I guess. I don't know.
there's a video of someone riding a reindeer.
I did see that.
So that's a thing.
Winter only, maybe?
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy the game. I'm gonna play it. I hope I enjoy
Yeah.
it. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I hope so too. I would really, really love to be able to say again, like, this Harvest Moon game is really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I haven't been able to say that for a long time.
And this is the thing, like even if the graphics aren't great, right? If it plays well, I can forgive a lot of things, you know?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Pokemon. Like, you can forgive those trees for
Yeah.
the most
Well,
part.
I mean, so this is the thing actually. Like I don't, why are we having this discussion? Like
You brought it
the
up.
trees in the wild area didn't look good, but so much of that game did.
Yeah.
Right? So it
Right.
was easy to ignore the trees because other areas looked really good. You
Yeah.
know? But
Right.
nothing in this game looks
Oh,
really
goodness.
good.
And I'm notoriously team it doesn't have to look good to be good, but
Yeah.
it's just that it's not so much that it looks graphically or visually it looks bad, it's that it gives me the impression of just the lazy development from Natsume that I'm used to now when I see
Yeah.
things like that. So it's like I just can sense what it's going to be. And I hope that I'm wrong, because I want it to be good.
Yeah, yeah. I think I would rather that they kind of toned it down a bit and made it like I would rather that instead of making a kind of slightly bad looking 3D game, that they just made a really nice looking 2D game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just a bit they've kind of it's almost like they've kind of bitten off more than they can chew, and I'd just rather they would scale it down. Like, if you take for example Stardew's, pixel art
Mhm.
looks so
Yeah.
good, but if the same developer were to try and make the same game but with like all these high texture, high model games, it would look dreadful. Because that amount of work is just so much more. It's much harder to make a good looking 3D game than it is to make a good looking sprite game.
Mhm.
But
We also know how you feel about
Yeah.
3D games.
Look, I have spent no time gaming the last 2 weeks playing anything other than Spider-Man Miles Morales. I love 3D games, but only if they look good. I think this is the thing. That's their purpose. The purpose of making a game 3D rather than 2D, unless you have some interesting aspect around the dimensions. Unless you do that, the point of making it 3D is to make it look more nice, right? Especially in a farming game, right? We're not doing anything interesting with the third dimension in farming games, right? That's not happening, right? So the only reason to do that is to make them look really nice. And if you're not doing that, don't bother. As much as I didn't like it, at least my time at Porsche did something interesting with the 3D aspect of it.
Another game I
That's
still
all
have
I'm
to
gonna say.
play.
I mean, I wouldn't bother if I were you, but I didn't enjoy it, but at least it was interesting.
I was one of the people who played it only on the Switch
no.
and missed it
Oh,
on
no.
the
Yeah.
on PC. So,
So what I'm hearing is none of you have backed the new game on Kickstarter. Is that fair to say?
I didn't even know.
I'm gonna wait that one out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sit
yeah.
it out. I'll let them handle it.
There's plenty of games that I still need to get to. I won't mention.
I am very pleased. I'm very pleased that they can build out their universe more. I'm very happy that they get to do what they want to do around. That is very good. I'm probably not going to join in on that.
Yeah. Same. I mean, if it once it releases, if it looks like it will be maybe worth some time, I will give it a shot. But
Okay,
a
let's
little
be
bit
honest.
burned from the last
I will
one,
buy
so.
it. I will buy it in a sale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's typically
Yeah.
how it goes. Yeah. For One World though, really the only thing that I am most excited about is this chicken plush. That's it. Game looks, maybe not the most exciting, but that chicken plush though. Chicken plush pre-order bonus. Sign me up.
I mean, realistically, all they need to make a good game is listen to Rochelle discussing in an earlier episode about what they did wrong with their. Oh, what was the first Switch one they did?
Light
something
of
Life.
Hope.
Light of Hope. That's what it was. Rochelle
Yeah.
laid out in very good detail what is dreadful about that game. So they just need to listen to that episode and they can make a good game.
Yes.
Please.
Oh dear.
I very infamously bought that game for full price.
Oh no. Full price.
Oh. I don't make the best decisions sometimes. And it's such a love-hate relationship with Natsume's Harvest Moon at this point, because like you said, I always do want it to be good, and I want that even though it's just a name, it's not, Story of Seasons is really the games that I fell in love with, but
Yeah.
I still always want it to be good.
I think this is the problem, is that I always want to kind of back them up when I see people complaining. They're like, oh, it's not real Harvest Moon. And you're like, look, don't assume it's bad because it's not Harvest Moon, right? I mean,
Right.
it is bad, but and it's not bad because of who they are. It's bad because of what they do. Right.
Right.
I just want them to be good, so then I can actually say to people, no, they're not bad. What? That's don't assume they're bad. They're actually good, but I can't do that.
I am looking back at screenshots of Light of Hope right now because it's been so long since I've looked at it, and it looks like a Flash browser game. I'm so like
The worst
shaken about what this looks like.
the worst bit is how, in comparison, that looks to the cover art, because the cover art looks quite fun,
Yeah.
and then the game.
So just not to me, please. Let this one work. Let it hit, please.
Just take some time. Take some time to do
Yeah.
it, right? Maybe don't release in March. We've got enough games then.
Yes, but actually,
Maybe
wait another 3 months.
hire a supplemental outsourced team
Mhm.
to help get some fresh ideas in there.
Yeah. I wonder whether they've actually got into the situation where they're not making enough money on their games to wait longer to make better games. So they just have to make more and more games quicker to actually keep making money.
No.
Whereas if they made a good one, they could then take more time on the next game before they
Right.
had to release a new one.
Yeah.
Painful. Anyway, I think that's enough about Harvest Moon One World. So we have 4 more bits of news. The first one is that the Ooblets winter update is out now. It's got snow and more Ooblets.
Yeah.
It looks very cute. I still haven't played Ooblets yet.
I recommend. I have not played it in a while, but I immensely enjoyed it when I did. It is just fun and cute and ridiculously ridiculous, and I love it.
I
Looks-
also would recommend it. I have played it since the Nullware update at Halloween. I don't think I finished all the content in that one, but I did play a good chunk of time there. I have not played the winter update yet, but maybe find some time over the next couple of weeks.
I think I played a little bit of that update, but have not quite finished that section.
It's good.
I like your, I see
Highly.
the Harvest Season's response at the top. That's, oh, fun.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. It's not like I had plans for this weekend.
I didn't get one like on that tweet.
I will like
Right?
it right
I
now.
I find myself
too.
as a funny person, all right?
In real time.
I don't think
You
I
just
am
got 2 likes on it.
appreciated enough.
You got 2 likes now. Only took, 2 weeks?
Thank you both.
But you got
Thank you
it.
both. I appreciate it. With my pity likes.
I haven't played this mostly just because of the platforms, I think.
Yeah.
I don't tend to play a lot of games on PC just because I spend, I feel like everybody does, but I spend so much time working at my
Yeah.
PC that when I'm not, I'm like, I just want to go sit on the couch and play something or,
Yeah.
somewhere else that's not my computer
It's
chair.
valid.
Yeah.
If it were on Switch, I would have, or PS4, I guess, maybe I would have played it by now, absolutely.
Mhm.
But it's just the Xbox One and PC being the only platforms has kind of thrown me
Yeah.
a little bit. So
Yeah, I think that's why I've not put more time into it. I believe at this point there are no public plans for it to come to Switch or PS4.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you know they want
Yeah,
to.
I'm
right?
sure.
Like everybody wants
Sure.
to. It's just whether or not they'd have the time and the energy to do
Yep.
it.
and there is precedent for like Xbox exclusives making their way to the Switch. So maybe
Yeah.
Mhm.
I believe it's Xbox exclusive on console only because the developer tools they used allowed them to very quickly get onto the Xbox.
Oh,
Because
sure.
it was, so it's literally, when I say PC, it is Windows. It's Windows and Xbox.
Right. Yeah.
Because the tools they were using allowed them to compile for both. So that's why it's more complicated to put on. But we'll see what happens. I would love it, but I also understand if they never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle to put too much time into PC.
Mhm.
I had thought that it was because Microsoft had purchased Double Fine, that they had maybe kept it as like an exclusive. But yeah, the development tools definitely make sense, I suppose. And who knows with the technical limitations of the Switch, what that might mean for like porting it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I don't think Double Fine have anything to do with the game. They're a full indie game.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, it's
Why did I
just
think?
I believe it was due to here we go. The game was due to be published by Double Fine,
Oh,
but
but it
following
wasn't.
their acquisition by Microsoft, the Ooblets devs decided they would self-publish instead,
Oh, good for them.
and then they got an Epic grant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love Double Fine as a company. I think they're very clever and smart at what they do, but good for them for self-publishing.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things where if you can do it, self-publishing is probably the best thing to
Yeah.
do because it allows you a lot more autonomy.
Right,
But
yeah.
if you're one of these people who like, I just don't want to think about those things, then using a publisher to do it is a good way to go. Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
sure eventually I will get around to playing it.
I'd recommend
Maybe
it. It's a very
this
good
winter
game.
update
Mhm.
will.
I
Maybe
mean,
the winter update
snow.
will convince me.
Who can say no to snow?
You know,
Can't say
living in
snow,
Wisconsin.
Ooblets. Fair.
Uh-huh.
Is it early enough in the year that you're not completely fed up with snow yet?
No, we've only had a little bit so far. So
There you go then. It's fine.
come
Just
January
don't-
though.
Yeah, don't wait till like the end of
Yeah.
February. You'll be like, snow can go die. The next update is there's an Atomicrops winter update as well. I mean, I'm not going to try and explain what's in this update. I've still not played Atomicrops. I'm probably never going to play Atomicrops. It looks too
I
stressful.
can't. I definitely cannot.
I'm glad it exists for people who.
Who do enjoy it?
I'm glad it exists for people who enjoy it,
Mhm.
but I don't think I ever plan. Well, actually, I mean, I probably will play it at some point, but it's one of these games where I'll buy it when it's a $5 somewhere. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you both. I think.
Which is like ironic when we get
Um,
to my non-farming game, which is my favorite of the year. But that'll be a spoiler, so I won't say no.
A spoiler, and not even on this episode.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Non-farming game is the greenhouse
know.
episode.
sorry.
It's fine. It's an advert for the
It
Patreon. Go
is.
subscribe on Patreon, and you can find out that piece of information.
Yeah.
The next thing, so if you play Atomicrops, go look up the update. I'm not going to do all the work for you all. Come on, you can go look it up. There's a tweet in the show notes, right? Don't be lazy. We have some more information about Stardew 1.5. So there are two things, one of which I didn't apparently even put in the show notes. The first piece of information is that it's possible that Stardew 1.5 might come out this year on PC. And yes, I do mean this year. I mean 2020, despite the fact that there's only a week and a half left at time of recording and a week when this episode comes out. But there was a tweet by Concerned Ape only a couple of days ago that suggested that would be happening.
Cool.
And then onto some information about the update. There is going to be a new farm called the Beach Farm, which, I mean, let's be honest, we're going to have to try that out
I
and
am
see what it's
so
like.
excited.
And there are going to be some advanced game options, which allow you to change up things. For example, you can now choose to spawn monsters on any of the farms rather than just can't remember the name of it.
Monster?
there was
I think it's
a farm
Monster Farm, isn't it?
Was it called
It might
Monster
be.
Farm? I might have been. So you can now choose any farm and get the monsters to spawn.
No thanks, but that's a fun option.
I'm excited about this update. There's going to be loads apparently, and we've only been shown a few things.
I mean, I'm just by the beach farm. I feel like I don't need anything else. Just by that alone, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, it does bring
It's
up
a
some
neat
interesting
concept.
questions.
Apparently, sprinklers won't work in the sandy soil. Is like what I'm reading in that little description.
What?
Yeah, so you can supply
Crazy.
crates might wash up, and it's good for foraging and fishing, obviously, and tons of open space, but no sprinklers.
Interesting.
Which makes sense, but will be very annoying.
Oh yeah, see that the image. So good foraging and fishing and tons of open space. Sometimes supply crates wash up on shore. However, sprinkles don't work on the sandy soil. That's going to be hell for me.
I know.
No sprinklers. Well, there we go. The last piece of news is that we've got some more information about the upcoming Village Monsters update, which I will not talk about very much, because if you're invested in Village Monsters so far, you'll probably go read it yourself. And if you're waiting for the 1.0 release, that is scheduled currently to come out in spring. Another thing to come out in spring.
Spring
2021. I already had that. So that's the news. Oh my word, that's been an hour.
There was a lot of news, yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Lots of news. So the rest of this episode, we're going to chat about the year in farming games. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to go through the games that came out this year, maybe talk about them a little bit, but mostly just go through them in a list. We're going to quickly list what we covered on the podcast. I say we, what was covered on the podcast. And then we'll get into our top 3 farming games of the year. Sound good?
sounds good.
So this year, there have been I feel like I said this last year, but there have been a lot of farming games this year. It's been a little bit crazy. So obviously the year started out with Animal Crossing New Horizons and Summer in Mara both coming out.
I enjoyed both.
Yeah. Both games I was very excited for. I was really looking forward to. I mean, obviously, Animal Crossing. It was highly anticipated, but Summer and Mara equally. You know, I've talked about it in the past on this show too, like how exciting that was, and I just, both very exciting releases.
Definitely.
I don't know how much I should talk about quite yet. But
let's keep it
opinion-wise,
at that, and we'll because there's plenty to talk about when we talk about because let's be honest, that's going to be in.
Oh yeah.
Then we came along and got Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town, the remake of the Game Boy Advance game Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, which was good fun and an interesting change, I think, on releases.
I've not played it because I have not played a Story of Seasons game.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
I'm really struggling to like rein in my vocal opinions.
All right, let's just not do any opinions for the rest of
Okay.
it then. I'll just go through them and then we'll give the opinions later
Sounds
on. How does
good.
that sound?
Perfect.
Then we got the 1.0 release of Littlewood. Still hasn't come out on Switch, but the plan is that it still will do. Hopefully that will be at some point next year. I don't think we have any information other than next year. We don't even have confirmation that it's next year. So hopefully it will be next year. I'm very much looking forward to it on Switch. I don't think I've played it very much this year, but just because it's only on PC. Then we got the Ooblets Early Access and multiple updates to that.
Yep.
Atomicrops was released this year as well, which is crazy. It feels like it was released last year. But anyway. And the most recent release is Alba, which obviously none of us have played yet. So that's what has come out this year that I could remember that was on my list. There may have been other farming game releases, but that's what was on. The games that were covered on the podcast, we started out the year talking about the Stardew 1.4 update. Shock horror, we had a Stardew episode. We had a Rune Factory 4S episode, which was not a this year release, was it? That was a last year release.
At the end of, I think it was
year?
at the end. Yeah. Right.
Thank you, Google. It was not released in 2012. That was the original game.
You know,
no,
this year
apparently
has felt like 5 years, so I have absolutely no
Concept.
bearing.
It was apparently February this year outside of Japan, so my apologies. It should have been in the original list, so that was a release of this year as well.
I feel like 2020 felt like it started in March, so like it tanked and then
that's a bit unfair to February games because we didn't cover them in last year's episode. So Rune Factory 4S episode, we had many Animal Crossing New Horizons episodes. We had a Summer in Mara episode, Friends of Mineral Town episode, a very odd Plant Daddy episode, an episode on Ooblets, and then most recently an episode on Dragon Quest Builders 2.
So good.
So I think the way that I will define what games we can count in our top games, farming games of this year, are any in the top list, unless we want to talk about an update as being specifically it. So therefore, the Stardew 1.4 update could count for that. So we now need to discuss our top 3 farming games, and we need to decide how we're doing that.
Mine is very easy. Go ahead.
On you go then, Bev. You can go to start with.
Okay. So this has been an odd year, but Animal Crossing I feel like took over my life in early spring, and then I only played the other 2 games that I covered in this podcast. So my top 3 is literally the top 3 games that I've played, and only games. I will rank them, but I'll rank the first one. Should I?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, Animal Crossing, because just by looking at the number of hours that I've put into it, which is 345, which is, I feel like, a lot for me. I know it's probably pales in comparison. Like, I know one person has 500, and I'm nowhere near that, but just looking at the amount of time and energy I put into this game, that clearly means it needs to be, excuse me, it needs to be my number one. And it was my first entrance into the Animal Crossing series. Like, I played New Leaf, but not very in depth. I think I just played it for a few hours and put it down, didn't pick back up. But Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing stole my heart, and I love it.
Fair enough.
I'm so happy to hear that this has captured you in ways that New Leaf couldn't.
I feel like if I would have picked it up earlier in the time frame that New Leaf has been out and only out for, like, in the 20 years that it took for them to release a new one, it would have been a different story.
Sure. Yeah.
But because I knew,
maybe it just like dated too much a little bit by the time you got to it. Yeah.
And I think I had never played a game that used, I think, real life. I mean, other than Pokemon, that used real life and made the stores close after a certain time, kind of threw me off. Because I started playing at night, so everything would just be closed.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a little frustrating. And Summer and Mora and Ooblets were the other 2 farming games I played. And I love that Summer and Mora had such a strong storyline involved with it, because I feel like every other game that I pick up now, just you can sink in so much time into it, and it was kind of nice to just kind of wrap it up nicely at the end and know that I had done everything in the game that I could. So that was one aspect of it that I liked, and it was just the art was good, the story was good, everything was very cute. And Ooblets, I need to put more time into it, but I love all the names. I love how ridiculous it is, and I can't pronounce anything in it, and I love it. And the dance, like, the music is really good for the dance battles. I enjoy that. The fact that there is a component of deck building in it within the game itself, like a game within the game, is a fun spin on it, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think those are my 2 cents, or 3 cents, I guess. Yeah.
3 cents.
All right, Micah, yours.
So I also have now that the list has been adjusted slightly, I've played 4 of the games on this list, but I unfortunately did not get to Ooblets yet, but Animal Crossing has to be. I Game Awards shows are really not anything to go by, and I don't think, outside of commercial reasons, there's much stock to put into like the Game Awards show, but I still couldn't help but feel like Animal Crossing was robbed for Game of the Year, because it just came out at such a perfect time. and it was so well received and widely talked about when it came out. So I said my piece on Twitter about it absolutely being my personal game of the year, because it's just so good, and I had such a good time in it, and I still am. I am currently at the 1,015 hour
Oh
mark,
goodness.
Oh,
Amazing.
which is
oh
It's
my
absolutely
word.
amazing.
disgusting.
That's insane.
But I've played
The
literally
game's not
every
even been out
day.
for a year.
I have played every day since it came out, and there was a lot of time when it came out where I just, it was right at the height of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
things kind of ramping up for the pandemic and things being crazy for my partner Becky's work, where she works as a nurse, and it really kind of gave me some kind of grounding, and it just was perfect timing, and it was a really easy thing to like escape to, and it that absolutely helped me put over 1,000 hours into the game. And I think like you said, Bev, I can't say that like it has to be my game of the year because of that reason. Like, I've put so much into it, more time than I think I've put
Mm-hmm.
into any game ever. And it's just such a, it's like a second home, you know. It's very comforting and really wonderful. So but that being said, Summer and Mara, I was very excited for that. Backed it on Kickstarter and followed it all the way up to release, and I really enjoyed it. I haven't played a ton of it because it just came out at a time where I was very focused on other things. But it's a really, really good game, and it's what I was kind of hoping for and expecting when I was following the Kickstarter. And then Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town is, I think, is probably my second place winner, just because I have such strong nostalgia for the original on Game Boy Advance that it was also a really exciting surprise to be able to relive that this year, which they did a really good job of recreating that. And I think that, Al, when you said it, there's been so many quality of life improvements. That absolutely is the case. And when Bevy said that you haven't played a Story of Seasons, I was struggling to not say I wouldn't recommend. As much as I love Friends of Mineral Town, it's not the
Yeah.
one that I would recommend you start with, just because it still feels dated,
Mhm.
even though it's like a remaster.
Yeah, definitely.
It holds the nostalgia that the Game Boy Advance one did
Yeah.
really well, but it does not communicate what a good Story of Seasons game is in this day and age.
Okay.
But it also was a very, very good time sink while I waited for Animal Crossing, because I think it came out maybe like a week or two before
Mm-hmm.
New Horizons came out. So that gave me some time to, it let me kill some time until for the last like painful week or two before Animal Crossing came out.
Just as the world was
Yeah.
starting to collapse.
Yeah. And then RuneScape 4S, or RuneScape. Pardon me. Rune Factory 4S. I played as well. I really liked the Rune Factory games when they were on the DS, and I was excited to re-experience that. And it's good. I liked it for being a Rune Factory game, but I don't think it really stood a chance to the other three in my list.
So just to clarify, your order is Animal Crossing 1, Friends of Mineral Town 2, Summer and Mara 3.
Yes,
Good.
that would be my top three. And it's really, it's Story of Seasons really beats Summer and Mara, mostly because I have such a like nostalgic connection to that game, and that was a big part of why I spent so much time in it again and enjoyed it. So, but if you're looking for a Story of Seasons game to play, maybe not start with that one, because if you don't have the nostalgia, it doesn't really translate as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that is quite true. It is still a good, fun game to play because I never played the original of that game.
Right.
I would agree that it shouldn't be your first Story of Seasons game,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say never play it. Honestly, if I would suggest waiting for Pioneers of Olive Town and playing that as your first one.
Sure. Yeah.
Then I would suggest going and
Yeah.
playing Doraemon. I think that that is a very good game, but I don't think it should be your first either because I don't think it gives you a good idea of what Story of Seasons games are
Just because
like.
it's
Mm-hmm.
But it
okay.
is a very good game.
I fully agree with you. And if I had to recommend one of the two that's available now on the Switch, absolutely Doraemon
Yeah.
over Friends of
Okay.
Mineral Town. The art style too is a huge factor
Yeah.
in that for me, because while I
Well,
love Friends of Mineral
yeah.
Town as a game, the art style did not hold a candle to the like beautiful
Yeah.
two-dimensional watercolor
Mhm.
style that Doraemon had, and I just don't understand why they didn't retain some of that. But I mean, you know,
Well, I suspect these
different
games were
games, different
mostly in
styles.
development in parallel, I would say.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Um,
They did
so,
release like few months apart
yeah.
from
Mhm.
each other. So,
Exactly. So I suspect you'd need to wait until the not even Pioneers of Olive Town, but the next game to say that they didn't keep anything from Doraemon. I think that's the
right.
point where you can say that they left that in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd agree with that. All right. So I guess now
Yes.
it's time for mine. S- I have agonized over this. So my top by far is Summer in Mara. I think it has been definitely. I might even say my game of the year. I think better than the other game. It is such a good game. It is
Mm.
gorgeous looking. It is fun to play. It has so many good aspects of a farming game. Some interesting ones that I'd never considered before and hadn't been in other games. A really fun story. The
Mm.
characters are all very interesting. And it has a point
Yeah.
where you can stop. And these things all combine to make a very good game. And yeah, I think there's no question that this is my favorite game of the year.
It's very good. It, yeah.
It really is. And truly a hard thing to come by in farming
Yeah.
games, a place to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only other one I've found that actually has a okay, I'm good now was Stardew
Mm.
with the 2 year update. Um and even that is kind of
Very
very,
loose.
very small.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, story is finished. You can continue if you want, or you can stop. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Uh, you know, um, and that, I mean, I will probably go
Mhm.
back to that game at some point because it's just a really fun place to be. But I'm also looking forward to what they do in the future, not least Dayland coming out on Switch, which I still haven't played despite the fact that I own it on PC. Um, uh,
I mean, that's also another game I
so
think that I
bad.
own on 3 platforms somehow.
Yeah, but you at least need to play it on each of the platforms. Now that it's coming out on Switch, I will never play it on PC.
I
It's just not
can't. I
going to
mean, for the
happen.
most part, I have played it on every platform, which is more than I can say about Stardew because I've opened it up Stardew and I think played 1 or 2 days and then just like stopped.
That's truly the extent of what the Switch has done to me for video games. Is now that it's coming out on the Switch, I don't care about playing it on anything else.
That's why.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
yeah,
waiting for Little One.
absolutely. Like I will play games on something else if it's the only place for it and I really want to play it. But yeah, if I see it's coming out on the Switch within a few months, that's a
Hmm.
wait.
Yep.
A wait.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to see what they do next. Because yeah, I liked it. I really like it. They seem like a good bunch of people as well. It's not a very tiny team. It's not like an individual. It's a good chunk of people, but it's not like a really big, kind of massive conglomerate that you can kind of
Mm-hmm.
uh you know, behind a mask. You know, they seem quite genuine, which is really good.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I think, and I'm only making this decision now, my other two are going to be joined, and they are going to be Ooblets and Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. I am not going to include Animal Crossing as one of my top.
Wow.
Now, let me get into that before I get into the other two. I like you, have put an insane number of hours into this game. Obviously, nowhere near Micah's, which, by the way, I did the calculation. That's 3.5 hours per day, Micah. 3.5 hours per day. That's half of a work day every day.
You know, a lot of those hours very much took up like the first few weeks where that's all I was doing.
Sure, but still, come on. So,
I'll tell my clients.
Yeah.
Look, if you're getting the work done, you're getting the work done, right?
That's true. Good point.
Who cares what you do in your downtime? I have put an insane number of hours on it. However, I don't think that can be enough to make it one of my favorite games. And I can honestly not tell you whether I like that game or not.
It is interesting.
Interesting.
It's a real struggle for me. And, you know, I've discussed this with Rochelle and Kevin on our last Animal Crossing episode. It's not that I dislike it, it's just that I don't know. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's insane to have this many hours in a game and not know whether you actually like the game or not. You know, I normally know very quickly, and you know, I'm not afraid to say that I don't like a game. You know, I did it with Rune Factory 4S and I did it with my time at Porsche. I didn't enjoy those games at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether I like Animal Crossing or not. I don't know.
It is.
And that's totally valid, I think, because it's such a, I don't know, it's such a like distinct gameplay experience that if it doesn't enthrall you, then I think it's unlikely that it will at any point, like late, like it's very easy to just go on autopilot with it.
I don't even think it's that, because I went through a period of a good 10 weeks or so playing it every single day. And that has been 99% of the time I put into the game. I think every other game I have put that amount of hours in, I have then picked up at some point and played it for a decent amount of time afterwards. I've tried several times and just can't do it again. And I don't know why.
I feel like Animal Crossing is
You know,
an interesting game because it came out at a time where I feel like it was very therapeutic for a lot of people. And because of that, just the amount of people who were playing all at the same time made it a social experience. So there could have been different drivers to bringing you back into that game. Not necessarily the gameplay itself, but the fact that so many people you knew were also playing it at the same time, and that was all they were playing.
Interesting. That's possible.
Yeah.
That's possible. But like, I've not even turned on the game since the latest update. I just don't have any interest in it, and I don't think it's just. I don't think it's because I got burnt out on it. I don't know whether I was actually enjoying it while I was playing it or not. It's difficult, you know. And so for those reasons, I can't bring myself to say that one of my top games is a game that I don't know if I enjoy it or not. So it can't
totally
be
valid.
It can't be there. So I'm sorry for breaking the streak.
Your opinions are valid.
But there we are. So Ooblets has to be in there because it's just so much fun. I debated not including it because I feel like it'll be one of my top games of 2021. Because I suspect I'll put a lot more time into it next year when there's more updates. But that would be silly of me, I think. And
Can
I
ask,
very much enjoyed this game.
Can I ask maybe an ignorant question about Ooblets?
Well, go for it.
Is it technically a full release at this point?
It is an early access release. However, within the rules that we established last year, early access does count because Littlewood we included, which wasn't.
Got it. Okay. I just meant in terms of like if it's going to get a full release next year, does that also factor into?
Yeah. So I'm cheating a little bit in that we would have been able to include Littlewood this year because it got its full release as well as last year's.
Sure.
That has not happened, but it probably would have happened had the Switch version come out this year. So that next year is going to be difficult. Oh man,
that's absolutely one of those we were just talking about.
Yep.
Like I know it's coming to the Switch, so I'm just waiting until it comes to the Switch.
Yeah, next year is going to be a really big toss up between Ooblets, Littlewood, Story of Seasons, Dayland, Lens Island. There are a lot of games coming out next year that I'm very excited.
Oh yes,
Snacko's meant to come out next year.
Yes.
Farmer Supreme, Garden Story, Turnip Boy, Coral Island. There are so many games meant to be coming out next year. I really hope some.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, well, anyway, we're talking about this year. So, that's a silly reason not to include Ooblets. So I've included it because it's a very fun game. I've put a decent chunk of time into it. Nowhere near the level of Animal Crossing, but I think I know for a fact that I enjoyed the time that I put into Ooblets. It's fun. It combines so many aspects of farming games and of creature collection games that I like. It looks great. It's very well done. Realistically, the only thing that isn't complete is that there's some missing content, right? It doesn't feel like it's early access, other than like they've done the really good thing I think you should do with early access, which is make a good game small and then expand it. So it's not a buggy game. They've not gone, let's release an early access and get all the bug reports. It's let's release an early access and see what people think. And then we'll finish up our story as we go, and we can tweak things that people don't like. Which is the point, right? The point isn't let's get bug testers.
Like the amount of area that is available to you now, at least when it first came out, felt small, just running around the town. But the amount of content that there is to do within that small area made up for that fact.
Yeah,
made up for that fact a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the good things they did was have the dance barn, so that gives you a lot you can do in there, just over and over and over.
Love it.
So
I'm very excited to play it, but
for you.
Micah,
especially listening to how much you both love it and how much other people that other friends of mine that have played it love it.
Yeah,
everybody seems to love it. I mean, just have to sit down and play it.
Yep.
You do have to get your PC out to do it, but honestly, sit down for 2 hours, you'll be hooked.
Nope.
Not joking.
I'm worried about that, but also excited.
The holidays, I guess. Well, it might be a good time for that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still sure. Looking for that stopping point with Animal Crossing where I'm like, okay, now I don't have to do this every single day, but I just don't know when that is.
Yeah, just take one of those days that you're alone because your wife's on a stupidly a long shift, and just block out a couple hours and do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ooblets has to be in there. But I don't think I can rank it above or below my other one, which is Story Seasons Friends of Mineral Town. I think in another year this wouldn't be in my top ones. Although there's been a large number of games released this year, there haven't been a large number of ones that I have humongously enjoyed and played a lot of. So Littlewood, for example, could have easily been in there if I'd actually spent the time playing it. Again, also with Alba, that's only just come out, and I'm definitely going to get that on Switch. These games, I think I haven't had the time or taken the time to play them this year. And so if it was last year or next year, I don't think Friends of Mineral Town would have made it in there. Not that it's not a good game, but because it wouldn't have been the best, if that makes sense. Right,
totally.
So yeah, I was really agonizing between Friends of Mineral Town and Animal Crossing, but I think it's mostly that I made the decision I can't put Animal Crossing in rather than I must put Friends of Mineral Town in.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so that makes sense.
It's a good game, and I very much enjoyed it. I put a lot of time into that game. It's a good kind of solid farming game, but I was put off a bit by the lack of quality of life updates. And there definitely are quality of life updates, but it's like the silly things like you can only have a stack of 10.
I mean, Animal Crossing also has that limitation.
Definitely
for the
don't even get me started on Animal Crossing's crazy idea of what you can stack and what you can't stack.
Absolutely a love-hate relationship with a lot of the mechanics in that game.
So yeah, definitely. Actually, no. I'm going to rank them. I'm going to rank Ooblets above Friends of Mineral Town. There we go. From what I said, it doesn't make any sense that they're not ranked. It's not ranked above. So there we go. Summer and Mara number 1, Ooblets number 2, Friends of Mineral Town number 3. Done.
It sounds like the way that you talk about Ooblets too, the excitement that you have in your voice talking about Ooblets, that it absolutely tops Friends of Mineral Town for you. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd agree. I think, 'cause well, I obviously do because I said that. So last year, when me and Rochelle did this, there was a very clear winner between the two of us, and that was Doraemon Story of
Okay.
Seasons. We'd both put it as number one. This year, I feel like it's not such the
No.
case with the three of us. In that I feel like if it was just the two of you, it would end up being Animal Crossing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it can be. I think it would need to be, if the three of us were to decide on what was the best farming game of 2020, I feel like it would need to be Summer and Mara.
It's the
I
only
think
one that
so.
we've all played, I think.
And ranked as well.
Is it? Yeah, I think. Oh, you're right. It is actually. Yeah.
It's the only one.
Well,
that
we've
the
all
Venn
played Animal
diagram-
Crossing.
It's yeah.
Yes.
It's the only one that we all have in our top 3, I guess. Maybe is the.
Yeah.
Yeah. But would you be comfortable in saying that? That's the question.
Yeah,
I would
think
be.
so. I don't necessarily consider. I mean, it is to a degree, but I don't necessarily consider for myself, at least, Animal Crossing to really be
There is
a
farming in it
game
now.
in the way. Yeah, I can plant my pumpkins and wait 3 days.
Yeah.
But I think that traditionally, as far as like the title farming game goes, I think Summer and Mara and Friends of Mineral Town kind of are my favorite farming games of the year. So I am totally okay conceding Animal Crossing to one of those.
Summer and
Fair
Mara.
enough.
Best farming game
Summer
of
and Mara.
2020.
It's really so good. And
Who'd have
It's
thought
so
it?
good.
if you're listening to this and haven't played it, or you maybe have looked at it and thought maybe that's not for me, just maybe give it a shot. If
Yeah.
if it's on sale or something, or you have the extra funds to be willing to make an impulse purchase on something that you haven't played and in hopes that it's good, just give it a shot. It's really a good game.
Yeah. It is currently in the UK on sale down to £11.
That's I don't want to say that's nothing, because that can be a lot, but that is a very good price.
Yeah. If you have any money to buy games, I feel like you're going to have £10. And presumably it's also on sale in America on Switch. But
I am looking for that now.
I'm on the Nintendo site and it won't tell me how much it costs.
Yeah, that's always the problem. It's such a strange system.
Oh, wait, I actually have, I just remembered, pretty sure I have a game, an app that will...
There's this site called
Yeah, there we go.
eshop-prices.com.
Yeah, you'll love this. I actually wrote an application myself to do this. So
Oh, really?
it is currently on sale in Summer Mara in America. It's not as good a deal. It's a 20% off rather than the 45% off here, but it's currently at $20 as opposed to $25.
Oh, the
whereas-
site is wrong then. The site I was looking at is different than what you're looking at. This says $13.74, but I don't know how.
Oh well,
accurate that is.
I would definitely accept that my app is wrong.
I've never seen this until today when I was looking at whatever price we were just looking at, but prior to this. But yeah, this just brings up the point that the eShop, I don't understand the concept of not showing you prices once you've purchased something. But
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is the UK store on the web is different from the US one. So if I go on to the UK store and I've already bought it flashes up with a price and then gets rid of it. But I just can't see any prices on the web on the American store at all.
sure.
It's
Yeah,
odd.
I guess if I maybe log into a different account or something, but
Yeah. And I don't think it's on sale on Steam. So
Yeah,
it might also
sure.
depend on the platform.
Yeah.
it's on sale somewhere between $13 and $20 though in the US.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally accept that the application that I wrote 3 years ago somehow isn't as accurate as another website. But there we go.
It's good though. It's
Awesome.
worth it. Absolutely worth
Definitely.
the $25
Even full
full
price,
price
yeah.
tag.
Yeah, yeah.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
even more worth it if it's on sale.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that people would like to discuss around the games that have come out this year? Any honorable mentions that you enjoyed but you just couldn't put up in your top 3 or anything?
It's been such an odd year. I haven't, like, other than Pokemon, but that didn't come out this year, so. Other than the DLCs, which I haven't really played because video games has taken a backseat
Yeah.
for whatever
Yeah.
reason this year.
As far as like farming games or sims or like life sims, I guess in that regard.
We're pretty liberal in our definition of farming games. We're all
Yeah.
good.
I there's that game Sakuna, Rice and Ruin.
Oh yes, of course. Oh yeah, well
that
that
does.
that counts. That counts as a farming game. That came out
Yeah,
this year.
it's got like the
Of rice
like
and
rice
ruin.
field farm
Yeah.
square. I was like really interested in that game, and in practice, I just completely. I was trying to show my brother recently. We were doing like a virtual. I was like screen sharing games to him, and we were talking about them and stuff. And he really wanted to see that game, so I was showing him. And I opened the statistics for the rice field that you grow, and he just was like, I can't even. I completely lost interest just looking at that graph because it's just too detailed. There's too much there, and I was like, yeah, that really kind of is what made me like a little disinterested in it, because it's just it's almost too much. No, it is too much.
It's kind of how I felt about the flower breeding in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Calico, which like just came out.
Yeah, I don't think I can quite stretch farming game to that.
Yeah,
But
it's
honorable
got that like
mention,
life sim
definitely acceptable.
feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
It looks
it's not
very odd,
good.
right? I'm sure there was a
It's
bit where it
just-
almost looked like it wasn't. It was oh, what's the game? The game where you roll things up.
Oh, Katamari.
Oh,
Yeah, there was a
Katamari?
video I saw where it basically looked like Katamari. Like they were,
Yeah,
or
I mean it's a lot
it
of
might even say Cat Amari.
it's a lot of like you're running a cat cafe or like building a cat
Yeah.
cafe.
But there was definitely a big fat cat they were rolling down the street.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really weird cat physics and mechanics in the game. And it's such a like cute idea, and it's the art is neat, the the level of diversity and everything is very cool. But in practice it's just not quite there. It's just feels half finished. Not
Yeah.
even like almost finished, it just feels half finished. So I was a little disappointed about that, because it's just the presentation for it is so neat and weird and fun. But yeah, that I guess maybe are the only things that I can fit into the like simulation box that that is like games this year that maybe I would include, but didn't quite make it. So
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you both for sharing with me your top farming games and discussing the year in farming with me. Always enjoyable. I feel like we should probably wrap up there because we're getting close to 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, thank you both very much.
yeah, thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me.
Bev, where can people find you on the internet if they would wish to hear more of you and your opinions on things and
I
stuff?
am pretty much found everywhere at Bev Granger 711. So that's BEVGRANGER 711.
And I am pretty much also everywhere at Micah the Brave. MICAH. A lot of people misspell my first name because it's not super obvious. And then just the Brave. That's it.
Cool.
I mostly am on Twitter though. That's pretty much all I am able to handle keeping up with.
I like
so.
fluctuate between the platforms. So I haven't been on Twitter in months, but yes.
Twitter, I think, is the only one that still feels like it can have an end. If you keep up to date with where you were in the timeline, you can then get back to the beginning. I mean, they're trying to make it difficult for you, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
Whereas everything else is just like,
They
here
really
are some
are trying.
random posts, and you're like, oh, fine.
Here's something that someone that you follow that
Oh,
from a person that you
Yeah.
don't know.
dreadful.
You don't know who this person is.
Dreadful. You can find me on Twitter also at the ScottBot. Scott has one T because it is not a name. That's about the only place I'm actually interesting anywhere. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm necessarily interesting, but whatever. You can follow the podcast on Twitter as well at THSPod. Now that one is interesting. I spent a lot of time trying to make that one interesting. Find all the news as it comes up, rather than waiting for your your fortnightly update on news.
Mhm.
You can also email us from our website, harvestseason.club, where you can also find links to many things, including the Patreon, which next week our greenhouse episode will be discussing the three of us and our favorite non-farming game of the year. So there you go. So if you want to hear that, then you can subscribe to the Patreon. And we're just coming up to a new month, which is always a good time to do it because you get your full month for your monthly cost.
Mhm.
You can support the podcast that way and also get into a reasonably quiet Slack, but there's discussions there. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's everything. Thank you all very much for listening. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
And until next time, have a
Have a
Have a
good
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 harvest.
harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Rochelle Delaney and Al McKinley, with support from our pro farmer level patrons, Kevin and Stuart. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode. Thanks for listening.
Four more pieces of news. Firstly, the Ooblets winter update is out now. There's snow
It
and
looks so
more
fun.
Ooblets and character
There is.
customization. More character customization. Is it more character
Mhm.
customization? I can't remember. Was there character customization in the first one, or is that brand new?
I don't recall.
I have
I have not played it in a
No,
while,
the character
but I am
customization
excited
is
about
not meant to
snow.
be in this section. That's meant to be there. I'm gonna retry that whole section.
Okay.
oh
Okay, do it.